Good morning, everyone. It's 9 a.m., so we'll get started. My name is Eric Hofel, and with me in the room is Ruth Ellen Doyen. Glad you could join us today. So our plan today is go through a quick project update. Just a reminder to mute your phone or microphone unless you're asking a question. And please don't put your phone on hold. While your hold music might be enjoyable, we all don't need to share that. So we'll give a quick project update where the project is. We'll talk a little bit about training, and then we'll have an open discussion about how the past week or so has gone as we made the Kick the Tires environment available and see what kind of questions you're having and what kind of things you're seeing as you get into the system. So looking at the project timeline, we just finished our test move 3. It went reasonably well, and we didn't have any major issues as we went through that process. That's our last real big dress rehearsal for cutover weekend. Our cutover weekend is still on target for the first weekend in February with a target go-live date of the 4th or possibly the 5th.
At this point, it is most likely the 5th. The test move 3 timings have pretty much confirmed that the first day that the users will be able to get into the system is Tuesday, February 5th.
Thank you, Colin. And we've received a decent number of questions about when cutover instructions will be coming out, timings and things like that. Those will be coming out early next week, so that you'll have those in hand and be able to know what we're asking you to do for that process. On the training side, we're finishing up the manual work. We anticipate having several of the larger manuals like accounts receivable, accounts payable, and billing out on the website either this weekend or again early next week, probably Tuesday, and with others to follow. Just a word of warning, the manuals are still kind of in an edited stage. We haven't had the time to go through and update all the formatting. We had many different people working in them, so the look won't be really pretty, but the information will be correct, and it will help you be ready to work, and you'll have some time to use those in the Kick the Tires environment to see how things go. One note of that on the Kick the Tires environment, I know several ran into some workflow problems. We had an issue where something hadn't been set up in that environment. We did that yesterday, and you shouldn't be seeing that anymore, so I apologize for that. And for those of you that were seeing that shouldn't be an issue anymore. So with that said, I'd like to open up the session just for an open discussion, see if there are any questions. You can either type it into the conversations field in the Skype meeting or unmute your phone and ask away, and we'll do our best to give you answers, and if we don't have them, we'll get them and get them back to you. So with that said, anyone have any thoughts? Have any of you had a chance to get into the Kick the Tires environment so far, and what are your thoughts on what you're seeing? I got a question. We missed your first comments. I'm not sure when you came in. We were just talking about the project status and where things are. We just finished our test move 3. Things went well. We're still on track for the go live weekend and the first weekend in February, with the target go live date now being February 5th, based on the timings we got out of the test move 3 process, which was our last dress rehearsal before the big weekend. And just a little bit of news about the training development process. We're in the process of finishing up the manual editing and should have some of the bigger manuals available in the next day or two, and with others to follow over the next few days next week. So we're getting there. I did get a question, will the sessions that were canceled last week be rescheduled? The answer is no. We couldn't make the Skype session work for everyone. I am in the process of recording those webinars, though, and again, you should be seeing more of those popping up over the next few days. So there will still be a recorded webinar for all of those sessions, but we're working through that process. Another question is, well, how to do an expense report for your recorded webinar? Yes, that's being worked on now. Where is the grant tracking module in the updated system? Is another question.
It's in the same place that it was. You will have a tile on your home page that you can click on and get to it easier, or you can navigate using the same navigation that you did in 8.8. But the tile will be much quicker and much more efficient for users.
Another question is, batch budget checking still available in the accounts payable module?
Yes, it is.
It's a simple answer.
Mm-hmm. If you haven't gotten into the Kick the Tires database, I really encourage that, because you're going to get in, you're going to see that everything that you're used to is basically still there, and it all looks basically the same. The biggest change in the look and feel is how you're going to navigate, meaning the work centers, and how to enter an expense transaction. But it is different from 8.8, but it's simpler. So I really strongly encourage everyone and have all of your staff get in there and look at it before we go live.
And even in the expense module, well, it looks different. It still works essentially the same. You still enter expense lines and all the things you could do in the old system. So even though it looks a bit different, the vast majority of the system works exactly the way it did before, and those places that are different, we're working on some documents that just highlight those changes in each of the modules, so you'll have some idea of where you'll see those changes.
Could I ask a question?
Sure.
Regarding the expense center, I would like to send out information to our employees, just advising them, here's the training environment, you can get in and poke around. Will there be a new manual on how to enter expenses this coming week, the beginning of the week? Because if there is, I would hold off and get like a link to the training materials plus the training environment at the same time.
Right, and I would suggest that we're finishing up that expense manual, particularly the one for employees entering expenses. We're working on the expense coordinator manual at this point, but for approvers and expense enterers, those manuals are close to done too, so I would expect those to be at some point early next week as well.
Okay, good. Then I'm going to wait for that, so thank you.
You're welcome. A few more questions. Will I be able to pull January actuals on February 1st in the old system? If not, when?
So that's a good question. So everything that is in the system on January 31st and ready to post will post. But of course, we won't have completely closed January 31st until, the first week or two in February. We are going to extend the department's time that they have to complete transactions and do any adjusting entries for January. Normally, departments have 5 business days after the end of the month, but we will be extending that. And information about that will be coming out prior to the 9.2 system being ready for users.
Next question is, will user favorites and any saved queries be pulled over into the update? The answer is yes, with a caveat. There may be minor cases where the navigation isn't the same, or that page doesn't exist anymore, the query's been changed, but you shouldn't see very many of those, but your favorites will carry over. And you're also able to edit the work centers, so if you have a favorite that we didn't add to the work center, you can certainly do that, and the instructions on how to do that are in the Vision 101 manual that is out on the website to look at. Next question, some folks are having frustrations with the system looking different because they have no manual to follow while trying the sandbox. That's certainly understandable. We made the decision to release the sandbox even though we didn't have most of the manuals out yet, to give people a chance to go in and look. From from a navigation standpoint, Vision 101 covers those issues and how to update work centers. But I certainly understand that, but that's why we're pushing to get the manuals out as soon as possible in a state where the content is accurate, but the formatting may not look particularly nice right now. We'll do that as we get some time. Any other questions or comments? Feel free to either type them in or ask over the phone.
So while people may be thinking of some questions, just some additional information that will be coming out to departments next week is Vision will be coming down sometime midday on the January 31st, and will not be coming up for users until the morning of February 5th. So during that time, there will be no payments made out of the system. We're currently in the process. Michelle White is sending out emails to departments that have critical payments that we are aware of during those time periods to ensure that those payments are addressed. If any other department can think of anything where they may have a critical payment, and I'm talking critical emergency, either dictated by statute or contract or some other guidance that absolutely has to be paid during that time, we are asking departments to have those vouchers in the system approved and budget checked prior to the pay cycles on January 31st. And if for some reason that cannot happen, then we'll be asking departments to contact us immediately. This is the same process that we have followed in prior upgrades, in the big upgrade from 7.5 to 8.8, and then in some other upgrades where we've done people tools or done minor patches. So departments should be fairly familiar with this process. We're also reaching out to departments regarding their interfaces that they have and giving them some information about when their last interface will run before we shut down, and then how we'll be addressing interfaces once Vision comes back up for all the days that we didn't receive files. There will also be some communications going out prior to go live regarding how to process any January transactions that have not posted yet and were upgraded for 9.2. There are a couple differences involved with approvals and things like that, but we will lay it all out for departments. In other words, if the transaction has these statuses, this is what you need to do to take care of it. We are in the process also of updating the month-end close instructions for 9.2 and any other procedures or bulletins that are affected by the 9.2 upgrade, and we'll be sending out notifications about all those that have changed prior to releasing the system.
I think we answered the next question, which is, will we have a day or two without Vision during the cutover?
And the answer is yes. We are coming down midday, January 31st, and that will be finalized in the next few days and not coming up for users until February 5th.
Another question is, will the new system automatically move the accounting date to the next month for any pending expenses? And the answer is yes. One of the really nice things is you'll no longer have to have blackout periods if you don't want to have them as part of your department's policy, and pending expense reports won't need to be deleted. Mm-hmm. When the employee resubmits it, it automatically updates the accounting date, so that whole process no longer needs to be done.
And I just want to add to that, one of the things also that you'll be receiving as communication from us in the next week or so is us asking all expense coordinators to make sure that any expense transaction, expense report, cash advance, travel advance that has been entered in January is either approved for payment or has been sent back to the employee so that it's in a pending status. All expense transactions either need to be approved for payment or in a pending status. And what will happen is that anything in a pending status will just need to be resubmitted when the system comes back up in February, and that transaction will then have a February date.
Anything else? Well, hearing nothing and seeing nothing being typed in, you'll be hearing a lot from us, as we've talked about, over the next week or so. And if, as we send things out, you have questions, certainly feel free to ask or send an email to the Vision Project Upgrade email box, or just give us a call and we'll get an answer for you. Otherwise, we don't have any other RCN meetings scheduled at this point. I probably will schedule one after the go live to have a discussion about lessons learned and how we could do better next time and what worked and didn't work for you as a group. But I'll schedule that after the go live. Anything you want to add, Ms. Ellen?
No, just, you know, we're 2 weeks away and it's pretty exciting. I think everyone is going to be very pleased with 9.2.
Okay, with that, thank you for joining this morning, and you'll be hearing a lot from us over the coming 2 weeks, and in 2.5 weeks we'll be in a new system. Thanks, everyone.